This is Justin AMZN for Friday, March 5th, 2021. Taking a look at the 5 minute here. We had a nice gap up and it was gone just 10 minutes later. The only reason I've got the 29.50 put up is that the open price was under 5 and above 4. So what I talked about on Thursday, that you could have been looking for a 5x4 entry. It didn't show up Thursday, but then it did first thing Friday morning, only at the open, because even right here didn't pull back down to the $5 price. And then over here, it actually pulled back and hit a low of, where is it? 380 right there. So you would have been stopped out. So it only worked right at the open. You would have had to have it set up to just get into it right here. Otherwise, probably going to look at a different put instead of the 29.50, maybe 2900. So let's get this pulled up to see kind of what this would have done. So, and I like this. It's almost an absolute zero, $1.50 instead. It's a little, a little too much, a little too wide here. I like that it pulled into the 5 price. I like 5x4 here. It put in a little bit of a base here, 544, 5. I like that it pulled into the $5 price right here after a high wave candle. Low at 4, high up at 660. Yeah, I think 5x4 would have worked better with the 2900, and then would have given you the opportunity, excuse me, to stay in. So buying at 5 with an 8R stop on a Friday. I'm sorry, an 8R target on a Friday would have been 13, and that would have filled on this candle unless you took the target off and moved it up. The goal would be to then get the stop at 5. Sorry, I'm not saying the right thing. Get the stop at 13, which it put in a low of 1240. So you would have had to wait this 5 minutes to get that stop under here, and then just trailed it up once it continued on higher. But that would have been a breakout point because this didn't quite get to 13, and then this pushed right on through. 13 being the 8R stop, or I keep saying stop, the 8R target. And then let's see, pull back into 5, and then yeah, if you were trying to get in 5x4 again, it wouldn't have worked over here. So only worked here. But basically what this meant, that we just ran up on the put and then came crashing back down. Obviously we had one last push lower, kind of a sell-off here, Morningstar reversal, ran right back up, bounced off of this line, bounced off the line and the 21, and then broke through. And when it broke through, it was already on its way. It had put in a really nice base on the call, the 3000 call. You could have done this with an absolute zero. So the low is under 1. So it means you could have bought with your full risk. So $100, put it in. So get one contract, and your stop is 0. So you can usually get out for, and I've gotten out for like 5 cents, $5 on a contract right before close. Usually there's a chance to get out of it without losing that full R. But that's kind of the goal, is to just use that entire risk for the entire contract. And again, for a Friday to set the target to 8R, that would have been a target of 9, and it got there right over here. Didn't get too much further than that. It got there on this candle. There was pretty much a significant rally here, and then we ran right into the same resistance just a little bit past the close of Thursday, and then rolled back over. And this is where we were rolling over, and I was saying on the 29.50 put that you could have been getting into a put there to make a little bit of a gain on this move back down. But also then for the call, it was losing some premium, and gave you another place to enter over here. I like this candle, that this was so much smaller. It was the range was under $1, but then it gapped here. And also when it gaps, though, it can be good. Like that can hold as as a level of kind of support here, which it did in this case. Pulled back. Here's our 5x4 price that we just keep seeing this week. So buying at 5, stop down at 4, and that would have worked for another 8R gain right here. Same option. So the 3000 call, getting in absolute zero, 1x0 with the target at 9, and then getting in over here 5x4 with a target of 13, and it would have worked. And then into the close, it was just flat. It actually held on pretty well for the last hour. I was surprised. I thought, oh, it'll probably push down one more time, or we'll have a massive rally. It's like, oh no, it just kind of petered out because it's had a lot of big moves. And so this candle, I think it's called a dragonfly doji because there's a very long tail. We don't have very much of an upper wick. Um, let's see. So the upper wick would be just this, yeah, just this little bit on the 5 minute here. You can see it. You can barely see it on the daily. It's very different looking than a hammer. Earlier in the day, if we were going to close down here, it would have looked much more like a hammer, like a really, hammers where you have the body being the tail being 2 times the size of the body. And so it would have been something similar to this candle here on the daily, like this candle here on the 5 minute, like they're fractals. So they can look like this on different time frames. We would have had to have a close way down here, like around 29.65 maybe, or 29.60. I think 29.50 is getting a little too low. But 29.65 would probably be good. So anyway, it just means there's a lot of buying. And granted, we had, the 3 prior days were big selling days. We needed a rest day and we didn't get it. Like the bears just kept pushing, pushing, pushing until I think finally this was somewhat of like an exhaustion volume push down. And it was similar to what we did here with last little gasp of volume over here. And we just stayed above that the rest of the day. Obviously, we pushed back lower, but like I said, on Thursday, not buying this, but waiting for it to actually get to this line, and came down to the line, put in kind of a triple bottom here, and put a really nice consolidation right here. Like you can see this triangle. We got some higher lows, and a relatively flat top that ran into the red line and the 21 exponential. And where I've got my cursor here, like 29.30 this is the line over here on the daily. So all of this coming together right in this area, it's like, okay, this is going to move once it breaks out. And it did. You would have had to be adjusting your trade to catch this once it was going. Depends on the option you're trying to play, but I think the 3,000 could have worked, could have reduced your risk a bit. Something a little closer, like 29.75. Oh yeah, there was no 29.75, 29.80. So they, for whatever reason, the market makers did not make a 29.75 call or put. They didn't pick that strike this week. And so you had a few less. You didn't have some of the every 5 multiples. You only had every 10 multiples. So you had 29.70, 29.80, things like that. These still put in a really nice, or this one still put in a really nice base. Was still relatively inexpensive right here as it was breaking through this line in the 21. And then it came down and almost touched it here, almost touched it here. And at that point, it was already, run away. Like the low here was above 5. The low here was 355. So it's like it had some jumps. That's why I liked the 3,000, because you actually could have been buying the dollar amounts. So the whole dollars, I mean. Just getting this back. So this could have been buying this 2 by 1, could have been buying this 3 by 2, and then just barely missed buying this one 4 by 3. So I guess it only worked for 2 of them. So entry at 2, stop at 1, entry at 3, stop at 2. So I like when we have nice whole numbers to buy off of. Oh, I didn't realize that low, 198. Yeah, so again, over here, buying 2 by 1 would have worked. Or like I said, waiting for the 5 by 4 up over here. So lots of opportunities just because it pulled back so far, was selling off so much. And what we've done before when we've gotten down to this level is we've bought back up off of this. Like this is par for the course. Like we actually had a really nice buy zone down here, and we bought off of that. Really the first time was this bullish gap and go, and then once, twice, and then almost a third time. It didn't quite come down that far. So this is our third time actually getting into this level. Um, sorry, fourth time. Once, twice, three times, then almost a fourth time. So this is now our fourth time touching this level, and we bounced again. Like we came down to almost this low, came down past this low. Um, so I don't know that there's any significance that we made a low here and held this one, but took this one out. I don't think there's any significance that this is the price that we came into. Let's see, what was the low here in this candle? 2871.10. Oh, that's close to this one. 2871. So we didn't quite come down to the 2871 price. We came down to 2881. So we stayed about $10 above the low here and the low of this candle. And then this candle, 2888. So we're $7 below that one. So the 2880s, 2870s, that was really the nice buy price in there. I'm looking at just kind of the candles and the gaps to kind of provide that those levels. Um, we've had now 4 bearish days in a row. Yes, Friday was still a bearish day, even though it looks like a really strong candle. It still ended, with the close below the open. If we can get a couple more bearish candles and come down to this again, but hold, if we get a close below this line, that's when it's going to be really significant. We've not had a close below this line since this day, and that was July 2nd of 2020. So it's been a long time since then. I think it's possible, but I want to see this rest a little bit in order to get some bulls in before we roll over again, if that's the direction it's going to go. But it needs some bullishness to come in to trap more bulls. That's really what it needs. I think on the bullish side, the next place that I would say is kind of a line in the sand is like the 3100. It's a really nice low level through here. Like it would be a really nice retest of these lows. And I don't expect it to stop there on a dime. I would think it'll rally, probably push up to the 21 and see what happens then. So the 21 will keep coming down a little bit as this comes up, if we move up. But I would want to see some bullishness come in to do that. And then again, keep that bullishness. If we can do something similar to this, where you had 4 bullish days and then got taken out the very next day, if we can get some bullishness coming in the next couple days, this week, and we can't push any higher, like if we hold below this wick and this day and the 3100, I think it'd be easy for us to roll over from here. Even if we do push up to 3150 or something and look like, oh, it's rallying, I would still just be cautiously optimistic that we can continue. It I wouldn't be surprised if we just continue to rally and got back up to like the highs, or got back up at least to like 3,400 and just chopped around in here. So all these possibilities are kind of playing out as I'm explaining this, and so I don't have too much conviction other than, hey, we made it down to this line. Which way are we going now? If we continue, we're going to need to rest at some point. I would like to see this hold at least for a couple days. And it'll give us some opportunities to buy, and get ready to ride this back up. But to clearly have a stop below this, if you're getting into getting into shares, having a stop down here, if it takes this out, it's going to go down quite a ways. We didn't have, like, we went sideways through like here for like a month and a half. Yeah, I guess actually probably about that. So almost 2 months we went sideways back in here. That level, like even just the highs from that level is back at like 2450, maybe 2500. So that's, going from 2800. Well, we're at 3000 right now. So going from 3000 to 2500, that's a significant drop. I mean, we've already dropped percentage wise that much from where we were up here to here, and to drop it again, I mean, it could totally do that. So let's see if we can get a rest. Let's see if we can hold this level, because we haven't close below this. Closing below this line will be significant if and when it happens. Maybe it'll happen someday, but maybe not this week. I don't know. And then if we start to rally, I'm going to be cautiously, looking for some bullish moves, seeing how well we play on the 5 minute to see if we can interact with the 21 some more, and just kind of build some more support. The other thing I know I had talked about was the head and shoulders. So let me see if I can draw this. So this was kind of the head and shoulders here. That's a bad drawing. All right, head and shoulders here. You could draw like a neckline like this or a neckline like this. Either way, from here to here was like the measured move, So that was like, I was saying conservatively was maybe 200, 150, 200 points. So we just went 32.50. 200 points was 30.50. We just went much further. We went to 2,900, a little bit lower than that. So this head and shoulders has played out, this retest, it didn't quite get back up to the triangle. That retest has played out. Like the retests have happened. We retested here after the breakdown. We retested, here, sorry, this and this both for like this. We haven't had a retest way back up to like that, to make a bigger, head and shoulders. I don't know that we're going to get that and still call that as part of the head and shoulders. Like if we come up to this again, I'm just going to say it's probably this resistance and some of this resistance rather than like head and shoulders resistance, let's see. So I'm not sure what the next pattern is to be looking at with this. The only thing I'm still seeing, obviously, is this red line. Like this red line has just been kind of guiding the way lower. And that's a little concerning too, because it's still going down. I've still got it on the chart. We keep running into it. We could run back into it and get a close down here next week. And that is going to feel troubling if we do that. We'll see if we can hold out, or hold up here a little bit longer. Like if we can do something like this, where we rally up and hold the 21 a little bit more, and then see, okay, do we do something that we then break down below it? Are we going to have another push lower into this line? Those are the things to keep an eye on. So keep an eye on the hourly here. I've been going out to some bigger time frames just to try and see, what is going on here. And this looks like a nice strong candle. We got a little bit of an inside candle next to it. We've got a lot of bearishness here. And so if we can start to rally, that'll trap some bears. They may have some more conviction and try and push it back down. But that's what I was saying, like the 3,100 level, it's easier to see here. Just there's more candles than just the daily, getting a wick down here. But man, look at this. These these candle or these patterns are really helpful, kind of setting up where things could go, and then they just went that much further. So yeah, there's a bunch of them over here. That doesn't make any sense. That one's kind of cool, the way that these kind of played out. Anyway, I like this one because the angle on it is really similar to the yellow line sitting right here. Anyway, we really need to hold this level. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot bigger move, and we'll have to do some more measuring to figure out how much further down can we go. And yeah, I don't know yet. So I don't know what that looks like. So along with having some sideways or a little bit of bullishness, we're probably not going to get these big swings as much if the volatility is disappearing. If we've got some bullishness coming back in, the candles should get smaller. These daily candles have been really large for a while. Like we had some smaller ones up in here. We had some much bigger candles. Like all through this, there are some really small candles, and then occasionally you have the bigger ones, pushing things, moving things. Well, lately it's just been all big candles. So That'll be the other thing to watch for is if we can get some small candles to come in and rest, that means that, okay, for just a little bit, at least for this day, there's not as much battling happening. But it definitely feels like a battle between the bulls and the bears to figure out which ones are going to be stronger to push Amazon around. And, really it's like, when is this going to get a huge move, up? Because it's been doing, everyone knows Amazon, everyone's using Amazon coming through the pandemic, but um, there's been so much baked into the price, going back to what happened in March, this sell off last year, it made a huge move. A lot of, what we are still expecting for Amazon to continue to have a move up has already really been baked in. So, this that we've essentially gone nowhere since July, we've gone sideways from this level. That's still okay. Like, we can rest for a lot longer. And that's when I like to pull up the weekly chart or the monthly chart to show, look how far we've gone. This is really kind of the first place where we're breaking down a little bit here, and maybe it's, maybe we've got a little more pullback in mind here. But we've gotten below the 21. The biggest thing I'm noticing is all of this past week was below the 21. And we've had weeks like that. We've had bearish weeks like that. We've had bigger pullbacks after a big rally, where we broke down through and we spent some time below, and it took a while, from from there to there. Let's see, till we got back above and mostly stayed above. I mean, granted, we dropped below again here, but then it wasn't really pushing lower like these were. But we could be in for something like this, where we get below for, what was that, October to March. So that's 6 months or so of being below the 21. I mean, hopefully we're somewhat range bound, but that's the kind of thing we can be looking at, just comparing to what we've done in the past. And then obviously the monthly, this thing is just gone. Like, this needs to come back to the 21 right here. It touched it once right here with a nice hammer candle and hammered-ish kind of candle, and has been not touching and been above ever since. So we actually touched the 21 like 1, 2, 3, 4 times out of the last few years. So, this is going back to what, 2015? Maybe here we did, I can't tell the price. What was that? Low was 474. Okay, so that got below the yellow. So right here we got below the yellow. So like 5 times in like 6 years or something, that it looks like it's actually pulled back to the 21. So it's overdue. And even a pullback to the 21, if it pulls back a little bit through, it can still come down to like the 2,500 price. But even like 2650 is where it's at now. This should keep coming up, but I mean, that's still a pretty significant percentage down from where we are now at 3,000. So, be prepared either to hold through something like that or to get into some longer term puts to protect your position if we do break below this line, or at least have a close below this line, to just be prepared to what you need to do. But also looking at the histogram for the squeeze, it's it's kind of breaking down. Like, the bullish momentum is gone, and you could see for a while it just went sideways until it started to build up again, and that's when it really started to do this S-curve thing and run. But even though it's continued, like, it looks like it's going higher here, it was still pulling back. Like, it wasn't going up as much. So I want it to go sideways, but it's going to have to go sideways for a long time before the 21 catches up, or we'll pull back into the 21. I think one of those is going to happen, rather than a nice rally out of here, which would fit what people are expecting or looking to happen. So that we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But that's kind of the bigger picture I've got. And then I got to reset these back to the 5-minute. We'll just keep watching the 5-minute, see what we can do to play this. But really a nice kind of a V, almost a V bottom. It wasn't as clean as like straight V down and back up. I mean, from here to like here mostly was. But then you have this. I guess this was another V bottom right in here. But to end the day, almost as high as it opened is pretty remarkable. I think it actually got, yeah, it did actually push above that price. And for some reason, there were bulls still buying it right here, you know, trying to push it up to, it's like it already rallied over 100 points, you know, from there to there, you know, from from this low. Like the bulls were doing it, like you're kind of late to the party if you're buying up here. So I think that was another good reason that we didn't have a rally right at the end of the day. So anyway, hope this helps. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.